Stop listening to people who tell you no. If I would have listened to people who told me no, then I wouldn't have became the first geospatial engineer to successfully serve in 75th Ranger Regiment. I wouldn't have earned my Ranger tab as the first geospatial engineer. I wouldn't have gone on to successfully serve in the Joint Special Operations Command. If I would have listened to people who told me no, then I wouldn't have become the first active duty enlisted executive coach in all of special operations. Stop listening to people who keep telling you no. They're telling you no because what would have broke them only made you stronger. So sometimes you just gotta cut those people off so you can become the greatest version of yourself. Keep following your dreams, keep breaking generational cycles and uplifting the world and the nation as you continue in your yes. Have some faith. It's time to be reminded of what you're fighting for. David knew what he was fighting for. Long before he stepped across the battlefield against Goliath, he asked the soldiers of the army, he said, what happens to the man that slays this giant? What happens to the man that faces off against him and wins and comes out victorious? And they replied, you will be wealthy. Your family will never have to pay taxes in Israel again. David had motivation. He knew why he was stepping out into that battlefield. He knew what was on the other side, bringing his family out of generational debt, bringing his family into a place of wealth. He knew what he had to do before he stepped on that battlefield against Goliath. So you need to ask yourself, why am I here? What is my purpose on this earth? And then how can I utilize that to get everything that God said is for me? Because it's yours, but you gotta go get it. I'm in this season where winning is just within my grasp, but I haven't grabbed it just yet. And on this journey, sometimes we're overcome in the middle of the storm. Sometimes we're overcome and we forget about the promise and we stop fighting or we slow our progress because we don't believe anymore. And I want to remind you and encourage you in this moment that the promise is still yours. If God promised it to you, it's still yours, but you have to keep fighting. You have to keep believing that it's still yours. As I look myself in the mirror and I say, God, what's missing right now? And God said, your confidence is shattered because you stopped fighting and you stopped believing. And that hit me so hard because his promise still remained the same. Long before there was a Goliath for David to slay, there was a lion, there was a bear, and David seized them and overcame it all long before he faced that giant. Sometimes you have to be reminded of what you went through and what you overcame to be who you are now, because you went through a season of transformation to become the person you are now in order to get the promise that God said is for you. This is your season to keep fighting. This is your season to continue winning. This is your season to get everything that God has promised for you, but you must keep believing and you must keep fighting. It's not time to quit. It's time to keep going. It's time to make progress. It's time to put one foot in front of the next. It's time to write down your goals. It's time to reach some benchmarks. It's time to get everything that God says for you. But you got to start fighting. You got to start making progress. You got to stop waiting until tomorrow. You got to stop waiting until next week. You got to say, in this moment, I'm going to make a change. In this moment, I'm gonna achieve some of my goals. In this moment, I'm gonna make some progress. No matter how ugly that progress looks, the promise is beautiful. I love y'all. Have a blessed one. Many years ago, a young, unproven David stood across the battlefield, facing off against Goliath with his feet stuck in the sand, ready to push off in attack mode. He stood ready with full faith and confidence of what he had to do on that day. God and destiny had chosen David, but on that day, David chose his giant to slay. And so my question for you is when are you going to stop letting your giants find you and you start picking out your giants that stand in the way between you and purpose, between you and destiny? When are you going to stop letting the lack of progress handicap you? When are you going to stop letting fear cripple you? When are you going to start choosing to do what is necessary to get everything that is owed to you? Because this is your time to do it. This is your time to find your giant. This is your time to get after it. So what are you going to do about it?